Welcome to a Community Partners interview where we explore the organization's opportunities and resources that look to make change in our daily lives. I'm your host, Sean Pickard, and you're listening to Voices for Ability Radio, all abilities, all the time. Today, I'm joined by Toye Abioye, the Executive Director for These Abilities Foundation. These Abilities Foundation champions the rights of individuals with disabilities. Their mission is to create environments that promote inclusion for improved societal integration through a person-centered approach through partnerships and collaboration. Their vision is to accelerate accessibility for and the inclusion of persons with disabilities in communities. Thank you for joining us today, Toye. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for having me as well.
Oh, really looking forward to understanding a little bit more about These Abilities Foundations. But before we get going into that, tell us a little bit more about you. What inspired you to establish These Abilities Foundation and why work with individuals with disabilities?
Great. Thanks for that question. Right. So maybe I should even just provide that background that the starting of These Abilities Foundation was by my brother, my late brother, Abioye. His profile we do have online, Abioye. So he started that. He wasn't born with a disability, but he he was he went off to he was taken to the hospital for immunization. And at the hospital, he was injected with expired um, drugs. And so that led to him having polio. So he lived with poliomyelitis and all his life. So he started These Abilities Foundation. He used to work in the corporate sector, but he saw the challenges that persons with disabilities in Nigeria, particularly, were faced with. And so he resigned from within the Nigerian space, a very good job working in an oil company, and started These Abilities Foundation. So he coined the name out of disability and flipping it to say there are abilities in disabilities. So in 2016, sadly, he passed on. And again, passed on due to inadequate medical treatment within the space in the Nigerian society. And part of it, from what I heard, was that the discrimination against persons with disability, against him as a person with disability, played a key role in his passing at this point in time. And so, with the legacy that he had started, I felt the push and the call to say, look, how best to be able to honor his memory and to continue with the good work that he started. Because after that, after his passing, we had lots of good stories of what he had done, how he had helped people who felt, how do we continue? What happens and all that. So I thought, okay, well, I'll start it as something on the side. And gradually it seemed to have consumed me, and I'm enjoying doing this. So we had a relaunch in 2017, for the foundation. And then we started looking at more ways to be able to enhance the dignities of persons with disabilities, leveraging off the work that my late brother had started. So that's how I got drawn into it. And I think from 2017 until now, I've had to be championing and leading this. And thankfully, I have a very supportive board of trustees that also knew him in their own separate ways, that have come around to continue the work at These Abilities Foundation.
That is awesome. I'm sorry. First of all, let me start with I'm sorry to hear about your brother, sir.
No, thanks. Thank you.
And what happened to him. But it's amazing to see this many people that knew someone who was doing something and went, no, we're keeping this going. So that is incredible just to see that keep going.
Absolutely. And that has also, I must add, that I have now I've registered These Abilities Foundation in Canada since Canada gave me the privilege to be a citizen here. So I have These Abilities Foundation also registered here in Canada. Hopefully looking at how to be able to expand the work as well and learn from people like yourselves and best practices from the developed economies.
Oh, we're definitely going to have some chat going on in the background here. I think definitely going to have some chat here.
Thank you.
Because I saw a lot of things on your website, Toye, that really made me go, "Hey, this is some cool stuff!" Right? There were a lot of tabs, things like community, and underneath the community tab, you had there was EDS, there was CIPM, and something else called collaborations. Right?
Correct.
Let's talk about these three tabs. What is going on with them? What is underneath EDS, CIPM, and collaboration?
Okay, thanks. All right. So with the EDS, that's the Enterprise Development Scheme. And so when I took over the running of the organization and we started, we explored different avenues to make a sustainable impact. So the Enterprise Development Scheme was designed in partnership with one of the local financial institutions, let's say Microfinance Bank, to support persons with disabilities in terms of their entrepreneurship. I know people say that not everyone has a flair for entrepreneurship, but if you live in a country or society like Nigeria's, persons with disabilities don't have the luxury of getting job opportunities or working in there. Most companies don't. So even if a study was done, that will still reflect the same. So we thought, okay, well, if you can learn a trade or you can learn a skill and earn your own income, be a master of your own destiny, and then be able to direct the affairs how you want to. So we started that. We got fortunate, like I said, one of the people that has supported that is one of our was become our trustees is a Professor Woshika, who used to be a professor of business management based in the US. So she relocated and wanted to start giving back in Nigeria. And then we got our paths crossed. And I spoke to her about leveraging all of her business management skills and the books that she had written, if she was willing to share those experiences and knowledge with persons with disabilities as a contribution to Disabilities Foundation. So she agreed. So she gave us the material. We developed the workbook for persons with disabilities. I went off to speak to the banks and say, okay, well, we have this pool of people, help us with funding for their businesses. So the biggest concern then was how do they pay back? Like, okay, well, we'll stand in as guarantors for them and see how that goes. And so we started that pilot. So before they got the financial assistance through loans, we ran a series of workshops and training for them on business plans, business management, just the basics of how to run a business, what is expected of it, how do you do your financial planning, your balance sheet, and all that. So, of course, with the expertise of Professor Oshika that I talked about, we got those materials ready, got it approved by the bank, and we started with a pilot. I think had a cohort of about 12 of them that were advanced funds even to start their businesses. So we started with the tricycle, which is mobility. So because mobility is a big part of the challenges that persons with disabilities face in Nigeria. So they started with the tricycle for transporting people around. And at the end of the term, I think it was for a year, we recorded 99% repayment of the loans by these persons with disabilities. So the bank was particularly surprised that they paid back and said, you know what, a person with disabilities within the Nigeria space knows that he's got very limited opportunities. So he will do his best not to disappoint you if you give him that opportunity. And then from there, we grew that space. So advancing them the loans. They went on even to buy additional tricycles. So these are mobility three-wheeled by motorcycles, kind of. And we've got I think on the site, we've got a documentary on one of them, one of the guys when we started. And so they went on even to buy additional tricycles. Two of them became employers of labor because you buy from your proceed and then you go and share with other people to drive for you. So that's the EDS bit of it. The CIPM, when the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, that's what the CIPM stands for. When the CIPM's new headquarters was being built, I think back in 2015 or thereabout, my brother happened to have chanced upon the construction, and the building did not have any ramp or facilities for persons with disabilities. So he spoke to them, they didn't listen to him, and he went right in the middle of the construction and stood there. So there's a photo of him standing in an uncompleted building. That's the CIPM building that you find on the website. And so it forced them to change. And so today the building has been modified and you have the ramp in place for that building. So we went on further to speak to the CIPM to say, you know what, you are people who are regulating HR issues in the Nigeria space. Hiring practices do not favor persons with disabilities. How about championing something with CIPM? So we went off to a national conference with them, and we were talking about the need to also make adverts, invitations for job opportunities to be inclusive of persons with disabilities in the design. And also if HR personnel can also be trained on how to treat persons with disabilities. And of course, persons with disabilities are not always born with those disabilities. So what happens if you have an employee and that person has an accident or becomes a person with disability? How do you manage that, considering that most people are not even prepared for that? So that's where the partnership and the relationship with the CIPM has come from. Collaboration. We thrive on collaboration because we believe that everyone has a bit to contribute to what success stories that we might want to build. So at the moment, I'll just talk about the partnership we have or the collaboration we have with the University of Lagos. This has been about 2 years in the making now, and we will be launching that on December 10 this year. So that collaboration piece speaks to working with the university students, especially at the first year level, working with persons with disabilities from our communities, the engineering students particularly, because Nigeria has the exchange rate problem, the challenge. Most of the items that persons with disabilities, assistive technologies would use are imported. And this costs much more money, and that money is in very short supply. So we have a partnership that we started with the university on research-based assistive technology device that we're talking to them about. So the idea is to get the university students look at innovative designs, working with persons with disabilities to design cutting-edge assistive technologies. And so, one, it helps even to be able to lower the cost of assistive devices that might be in the market. It helps even to translate theory into practice for the researchers and the university students. And also, it also increases social awareness to the issues around persons with disabilities deal with. And that helps even because the students work with persons with disabilities as mentors to them on the design of the programs of the innovations that they come up with. So we have a project now where 5 projects are coming up. So there's a team of 20 people co-led by a person with disability as they work through the design phases of what needs to be done in terms of assistive devices. So that's an example of the collaboration in here. I mean, I could go on and on, but I know that we've got limited time here. So speaking to those 3 tabs that you have mentioned.
Oh, there is a lot going on there, Toye. And I got to be honest with you. I love what's going on with collaborations, right? Bringing in things and making it so that it's homemade, right? And
Correct.
just doing so much there in that aspect. But the The Chartered Industry of Personnel Management. That's the picture on the website. That's your brother standing in the construction zone. Is that picture?
That's him. Yeah, that's him there. Yeah, that's him there.
And he got some changes made by Stan. I love it. I love
and
it.
they changed, right, and they changed that. And then there's a letter even that was written to acknowledge that as well. So,
oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. Now, let's talk for a little bit because I've heard about assistive devices and entrepreneurship programs, things of that nature. When it comes to helping individuals with disabilities, does These Abilities Foundation, does that have a focus on individuals with visual impairment, individuals with mobility issues? What's your focus? Is it everyone?
Excuse me. Yeah, we have 5 clusters that we work with at this point in time. We started with what seemed to be the more visible disability within the globally, the sign of a wheelchair. So we work with physically challenged persons, the visually challenged ones, impaired ones. Also, we are also working, and that's where we're taking this assistive technology research work to now, so that the 5 projects I mentioned, that we have 5 projects. And so it's for each cluster now to be able to look at what are those challenges when it comes to visually impaired persons hard of hearing or having hearing challenges. What kind of innovation can we design for them? And that's why they act as mentors, working with the students themselves all through the semester, and making their research findings known at the end of the semester.
I love that. That's going directly to the source. I love that.
All right.
Now, I'm sure you've had a number of people come through the door saying, I need help with this. So, without using any names, without identifying anybody, can you share a success story with me? What happened when someone reached out, asked for help? What supports were put in place?
Okay, I think I can mention the name, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind, because he's going to be our keynote speaker at our event at UNILAG, that's the University of Lagos, on the 10th of December. So this guy used to be at the university, another university in southwestern Nigeria, and that was where he encountered my brother, met him. And he was down because of the disability, couldn't move around on campus and all that. So my brother would encourage him. He told the story himself. We have it documented. He said, my brother will come over to the campus, encourage them. They formed the Disability Students Network on the campus at the University of Ibadan. And based on that, he encouraged him. He graduated from the university. He didn't get a job. He needed assistance with entrepreneurship. My brother supported him with some funds, so he started making shoes. I mean, he's physically challenged in a wheelchair, but he started making shoes, designing shoes, and all that. So when we had a fair in December, I think in 2019, we had a disability summit and career fair. So we invited him over to come and showcase some of his works. So he did that at that fair. Went on further, and we provided some further assistance through the Enterprise Development Scheme for him. And so in 2022, he started his own business, his own company. So today, he is building assistive technology devices, largely ramps, across Nigeria. He said to me about a week ago when we talked, no, 2 weeks ago when we talked about his participation as our keynote speaker at this University of Lagos event. And he was saying to me that his projected annual turnover for the business, it's about $100,000 now. That's in a space of 3 years now. So he's got so much work that he's not able to go around, because he's doing retrofitting of buildings, he's designing for hospitals, we're changing doors of doors of bathrooms at public spaces, private houses. So which is one of the reasons why he's going to be speaking to this university students and the community on the 10th of December and hoping that we can, through that, provide some kind of internship opportunities for the university students so that you come up with a design, you look at what has been designed, can we improve on them? Uh, and of course, in the course of doing that, you get a stipend also because this is business already going on. You can also get to be part of it. Yeah. So that's one successful story I can readily share. I mean, the others I can talk about. The one around the guy who was given money for his tricycle transport business and went on to buy two others in there. And there was one when we were trying to do that documentary. I think I have it on the website there. If not, but I can get the guys I can send it to you. When he was being called, they were looking for him to interview him. He said the guys came back to me and said they couldn't get him, that he wasn't responding. So I called him up. He said he's busy, that he was going to the hospital. Now, the interesting bit of it is that before then, I was one of the people that would supply and give him money to go to the hospital, take his children, because he also has children living with disabilities, to go to the hospital. But he said no, that he was going to the hospital with his children in this tricycle that he had. Right. And he's felt a sense of pride. I mean, going to the hospital is not necessarily a pleasant thing, but for the first time, he was able to go without having to beg anybody or pay exorbitant fees to be able to take his own children to the hospital. And he felt that, yeah, he was being fulfilled even as a father, playing that role. That's just because he got that assistance to be able to start this transport business. And that wasn't just the first one. He had another one because he had prepaid the amount. He got loan for the second tricycle. So he gave the first one out to somebody to be driving that for him and sharing the revenue from there. Yeah.
I love it. I love it, right? Giving someone an opportunity to change their life moving forward. I love it. Now, we're going to get a little bit of international flavor with this one, Toye, because, well, this is one of my favorite questions here. And I definitely want to hear what's going on. We'll say in the Lagos area here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But what is the one thing that you see happening over and over again to individuals with disabilities that shouldn't be? And how do we stop it?
I think it's summarized in my opinion, summarized in the saying that nothing for us without us, right? Nothing about us without us. I think we see a lot of solutions or designs made, themes for conferences, for international days and all that being made. I don't have a sense that persons with disabilities are consulted before those events are put up. And even when they get put up, how much of accommodation is made for them. I've seen here in Canada the stories about airlines not paying attention to the wheelchairs of persons with disabilities, whether from mishandling or injuring the persons concerned in there, or saying that the weight is too much for an airline to carry. I think there's a common thread. It might have different flavors or variations. There's very little consultation going on with persons with disabilities, even to design solutions or bring interventions that will meet their needs.
That is huge right there. That is huge. We talked a little bit. You do have a guest speaker coming up December 10th. You've got an event going on?
That's correct, yeah.
What is the event that's going on, and are there any others coming up for these abilities?
Yeah, there are quite a few that we have in the pipeline that we're working on now. So the immediate one is on December 10, and that is in collaboration with the University of Lagos. And this is University of Lagos AfriTech. So AfriTech is an association of technology-based universities in Africa that are supported by the Carnegie Foundation. Yeah. And so, with them and the University of Lagos, this event on the 10th of December, we will be marking the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. And on that day also, we will be doing a call, the research call for the Assistive Technologies Challenge, where researchers from the university will be looking at innovative designs, and then they will present what they want to work on at a further conference in February next year, February 2nd to 3rd, at the University of Lagos, sponsored by Afritech as well. So they will be showcasing what their innovation ideas are. And the first three, the top three that are judged to be the most promising, will go on to receive some funding to develop their solutions or their proposed solutions. And then later on in the year, hopefully by December 2027, we should be able to share that with the public to say these are the innovative designs that have come through as a result of the research work. And of course, working with persons with disabilities on these different projects. That's what. There's also a film festival that we also have coming up in March next year in Netherlands. And here we intend to be we're working with a local film production company that is including vulnerable persons and persons with disabilities, especially because if you look at the filming industry in Nigeria, not much focus has been paid to persons with disabilities, even in the production. And you have persons who are not with disabilities acting roles of persons with disabilities. So trying to change that narrative, this film company started this. So we partner with that film company. They've got an international event in March next year, and they will be telling the stories of persons with disabilities at this international workshop in March next year. Okay, so those are two that we have. The one with the Unilag is a collaboration that is ongoing and runs beyond just the December 10 event, but it starts a series of activities coming on thereafter. And then the film festival in Netherlands in March 2026.
I might have to go to the Netherlands in March. That sounds very, very interesting. But we are running out of time here, Toye. We are running out of time. So I want to make sure I get a couple of things in here. What is the one thing that everybody needs to know about These Abilities Foundation?
Well, I'll say about These Abilities Foundation that we're here to advance the cause of persons with disabilities. We will appreciate collaboration, opportunities to learn, foster independence for persons with disabilities, especially when we see the great strides that other places, other countries are making. So we want to let people know that we're open for collaboration in our storytelling and advocacy journey, and also to strengthen opportunities for persons with disabilities in as many ways as are possible out there.
That is excellent. That is excellent. Now, if the listeners are looking for more information, how do they get a hold of you? Is there a 1-800 number, website, social media? How do they reach out?
For sure. We do have a website. That's www.theseabilitiesfoundation. So you have These Abilities in plural. Our social media handle on Instagram is at These Abilities Foundation, one word. Same on Facebook. And then we just recently started on LinkedIn, which is These Abilities Foundation, 2 words on LinkedIn. So Instagram at These Abilities Foundation, 1 word together. Same on Facebook, and on LinkedIn, These Abilities Foundation, 2 words. And then the website is always there. So the website is usually the best way. And in terms of email contact, info@theseabilitiesfoundation.org is the best means of reaching us.
Wonderful. Toye, thank you very much for joining us today. That's all the time we have, though. Would you care to say goodbye to the folks at home?
All right. I'd like to say thank you to everyone, and especially a big shout out to everyone making life better for persons with disabilities, people like organizations like Voices for Ability, Connect for Life, V4A, and many others out there. I just want to say thank you for the encouragement and for the opportunity to be able to share a bit about the work that we do. And of course, to our partners across Africa, we'll say thank you for assisting us in carrying on the vision of our founder, Abioye.
Thank you very much for coming out today, Toye. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Toye Abioye, the Executive Director for These Abilities Foundation. That's all the time we have for today. I'm Sean Pickard. Until next time, bye for now.